Have you ever wondered about which genres of music you could make within the GarageBand app? Well, tonight I'm going to try and make a jazz song. So, this should be fun. Let's go. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tommy and tonight I am doing a music creation video on GarageBand and I'm going to try and do my best at making the beginnings of a jazz song. I've got an idea in mind of a kind of sound that I want to go for. I want to go for a super relaxed, slow, you know, what you'd find in the background of like a jazz cafe somewhere. And that's what I'm going to try and do tonight. I'm not going to use any crazy chords because quite frankly, I can't play them. And you know, the keyboard playing isn't going to be amazing at all. I'm not a keyboard player. So hopefully you'll see by the end of this video that you don't have to have the very best software. You don't have to be amazing on an instrument to make your songs sound good. So shall we jump in? Let's see what we can make with this jazz song. Let me get my headphones on. Let's do it. So we've got GarageBand open. First thing that we would add is we're going to add a drummer. And this drummer is definitely not jazz. This is the Kyle drummer. He is a pop rock drummer, you can see here. So if we hear what Kyle sounds like, definitely not a jazz drummer. What we will do is we can head over to, is it in alternative? Garage rock, modern 80s, no. Songwriter. There we go. So if you go to the songwriter section in the GarageBand drummers, you have two brush drummers. You have Austin and you have Tyrell. One is a roots brush. So influenced by roots, folk and Americana, Austin uses brushes to perform stripped down grooves and driving train beats. Or you've got Tyrell, who is a master of classic jazz brush technique. So that is the one that we want. We're going to be using Tyrell. What I'll do is I'm just going to extend this out a little bit. Actually, I'll zoom out a little bit, and then we can just extend this for a little while. And that just gives us just a bit of a rhythm to go on. Now, this is a 75 BPM tempo, which I think is going to be a little bit too slow. Yeah, definitely too slow. So I think in my head, when I had this idea in my head, it was around 92. So that is a nice standard beat to go with just for the time being. We can always mix it up a little bit and jazz it up a little bit, if you pardon the pun. But basically, if you haven't used a drummer before, you've got this sliding, that's not really a sliding scale, but you've got this kind of trackpad where bottom to top is how loud the drum line is that he's playing, and left to right is how complex. So if you want it really loud, really complex, you'd come up here. If you want it really quiet, really simple, you'd come down here, and you can see that the actual the wave changes to go with it. So I think we started off around here, didn't we, as default? So let's just hear what Tyrell is playing. Okay, and we can ask him to do a few more fills if we wanted to. Yeah, and you can see that he does the odd little fill there, but I was quite happy with how it was. Right, okay, so we've got a drum, a drum to work with initially. What I'll do is I will just get my keyboard out. Now, it is only a small keyboard, so you won't get, there's not enough space to play the bass notes as well as the chords, but I'll just concentrate on chords for the time being, and then, like I said, we can add and embellish it later on. So I'm going to add a new instrument here, and I'm going to add a MIDI keyboard instrument. Let me just make sure you can hear that. Yes, you can. Okay, now classic electric piano doesn't quite fit the sound that we want to go for. So I am going to just look for a grand piano for the time being. And it should be in the piano section. Steinway grand piano for the time being. So this is the chord sequence that I've come up with. A minor. And then chromatically moving down in the bass, down to G sharp, which GarageBand says is A flat augmented. You can see it just up here as I play the there we go, and then moving down to an A minor but with a G bass, which is actually a C major, different inversion, and then down to an F sharp bass, which is a C flat 5. So it's going to sound okay. So I will roughly try and record that down. That is enough just to go off for the time being. And the great thing about MIDI is you can quantize it. So if you are slightly out of time, you can right click on the region, you can quantize, and you can quantize to a certain note. So it will move everything either to the nearest whole note, half note, quarter note, eighth note. Depends on how fast and how slow your the part is that you're playing. But usually, if you're playing something that's relatively complex, you might want to go for 16 or 32 notes. If you're playing something that's relatively simple, like I was, you might be alright with a quarter note. So I'm just going to go for a quarter note and just see how that sounds. Yeah, that's fine. And again, just for the skeletons, we're going to right click and we can loop that, and that gives us something to work on. And then when it comes to a chord change a little bit later on, we can add that, and we can cut and trim and do what we need to do. So now let's have a look at what else would be in kind of a jazz sounding song. There'd be a drum, there'd be a piano, there'd definitely be some kind of bass, usually an upright, and you might have some trumpet, saxophone, clarinet, that kind of thing. So let's try and see if we can find a bass. So I'm going to add another MIDI instrument, and this time, where would they be? Are they in the bass section? Fingerstyle bass, that's electric. Upright studio bass. Okay. I wonder if there is like a jazz bass. So you can also go into the search bar and just type jazz. And there is right at the very end an upright jazz bass. It sounds very similar to what we had before. So let's just have a look at what we can come up with. Now, because this is in A minor, any of the white keys should fit. I just need to make sure that as my piano moves chromatically down through the G sharp and the F sharp, to capture that as well. So we'll see. We'll just have a bit of a noodle and see what we can come up with. Okay, so I've added the bass, I've quantized it, I've done a little bit of editing in the note editor here, and again, just for the time being, I'm going to loop that in here. So this is the overall sound that we've got so far. Turn the click off. You know, that bass is a little bit loud. And let's maybe change it to a different jazz sound, bass sound, sorry. Oh, I like that. It's a bit loud. It's a little bit high though. So what we can do is we can highlight this and we should be able to transpose it. Let me figure out where we transpose it. So to transpose it, what we need to do is we need to highlight all the notes that are played like this. So they're all been selected, and I'm going to move it down 1 octave because I think what it's currently playing is just a little bit too high. So what I'll do is I'm going to take this very first note now that they've all been highlighted, and this first note is starting on the key of A, the note A. I'm just going to drag this down to the A below it, and everything else will come down with it. So now we have this. Much better. So now let's have a look with some very rough vocals. So I'm just going to get a vocal idea that I got down before, a few lyrics, and I'm going to add the microphone input. So we're going to do that now. So we're going to add a microphone, and I'm going to turn on the input for this Blue Yeti microphone, which I use for my vocals. So this microphone that I'm currently speaking through might turn off. So if it does, bear with me. So I am on a slightly different microphone now, and it might sound a little bit different, so I'm sorry if it's a little bit quiet. But we are going to just slightly change the preset on here. So we've got the vocal presets here, and I'm just going to choose, just for the time being, the classic vocal. And it's going to have a little bit of echo on there. But let's get a vocal down, and let's see how it sounds. And then we'll go back to this normal microphone. I quite like the, almost like a slapback reverb on this. It does give it that kind of old style feel. So whether it works for this kind of jazz or not, I'm not too sure, but let's see what it sounds like once everything is together. Do you know that feeling deep inside? It's never leaving. Can't leave it behind. I feel like screaming. You mess me up inside, I know. You see them watching as you walk on by. You try to block it out of your mind, but you can't stop it. Can't stop the tide, I know. I can't help but overthink is what I do well. To look at me, you never tell, 'cause I stand tall and And there is, I think, where I'm going to change the chords to some kind of pre-chorus. So we can do that a little bit later on. I'm just going to switch back to the normal microphone and let's see how it all sounds. So we are back on the normal microphone and let's give it a listen. It doesn't look like any of it clipped or anything like that, which is great. There might be a few little tuning issues and stuff like that, but again, this is completely just a skeleton recording. This is just an idea to give you of how quickly you can get the basics of a genre together. You know that feeling deep inside, it's never leaving. So from here there are a few places you can go. You could add a few horns, you could add trumpets, saxophones, clarinets, you could add strings if you wanted to, or you could just keep it simple and just have bass, piano, maybe a little bit of space for a piano solo, and vocals on there as well. I'm unsure of what I would do, just purely because the saxophone does sound just a little bit naff. I mean, that's got a nice little bit of texture to it because we're lower down. But there is a really great plugin by Spitfire Audio, which is the BBC Symphony Orchestra plugin, and that's great. I'll try to find it on my Mac and show you the next time we revisit this. I might try the whole kind of backing it up with a few horns and saxophone and stuff. But this just goes to show you, in how long have we been doing this? About 25 minutes now. We have got the basics of a jazz song here, all direct from GarageBand. And remember, just because I'm doing this on my Mac, this is available on an iPad, this is available on an iPhone. You know, you've got all this right at your fingertips, literally, if you wanted it. So, you know, we've got the starts of a jazz song here that could very easily, once we're finished, be of a standard that is ready for distributing and putting out there to Spotify and places like that. Now remember guys, if you are interested in this, I'll stick a link in the description below that if you do sign up to DistroKid to get your music heard on places like Spotify, Apple, then you get a discount through DistroKid, and they have some great promotional tools. They have great mastering tools that are all available through DistroKid. So the link is in the description if you want, or if you're considering doing that. And if you've liked this video, then make sure you click the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We do Makers Monday every Monday night, where we talk about different music creation based videos. And if you want to support the channel, then you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/TommyJackMusic, or you can join the Patreon at patreon.com/TommyMusic, Tommy Jack Music. Until then, guys, stay safe. I'll be back again next Monday, and I'll see you then. Have a good week. Take care.